In this video, we're going to discuss the basics of inputting text. So we'll talk about copying and pasting, and then some commands and some special paste formats. So to begin with, let's say that you have been told that you need to retype in this whole table here into Excel. That way you can manipulate the data mathematically within Excel. If you didn't know anything about Excel, you might go back to Excel and start typing in trial 1, trial 2, etc. But if you know a little bit something about Excel, you would know that it's much more simple just to highlight all of the cells of the table and then copy those cells. So I did that because I'm on a PC by hitting Control C. But if you're on a Mac, you could also hit Command C. And now you click in this Excel where you want that table to show up, and then you paste it in. So for me, I'm going to hit Control and V. Now notice how that made everything look really, really wide. That isn't necessarily how I wanted to do it. So let me go back, and there's a couple other ways that you could do. First is all of these paste special commands. So if you just hit Control V, it's going to automatically input the text right here. And that might be okay. You might want to do everything by hand and get it looking pretty by hand, but I'm going to instead show you some other ways of doing that. So if you come over here on the left hand side, we are on the under the Home toolbar and Paste. You see how it's no longer grayed out, now it's active. And that means we can click this arrow right here, and there are now special ways that we can paste it. We can paste it as a picture, which we don't want because then you can't manipulate it. So see what it looks like now? It's not text that's copying like that we can type into. So we don't want a picture. But let's say we just do text, which would be this one. We can match our destination formatting, or you can also just choose text. And either of those are going to give you the same result. And now what we need to do is we need to click on it, and then notice how when you hover over it, it changes what your cursor looks like. And so it looks like this type of arrow with the two arrows going left and right. You can left click and you can drag it and make it as wide as you want. Alright, that's one way. I'm going to click Control Z and undo that so I can show you another way. Or you can hover over it, and then now instead of clicking and dragging, you just double click. And it's going to expand it so that way every cell is filled with the text and the text doesn't go outside of the cell. And so that's one way you can quickly get your data in here. Now that being said, let's say you thought, oh, that's too long. I don't actually want it to be this long. I want it to only be this wide so I can look at my data a little more easily. But when I type into trial 1 maybe some data here, it makes my words disappear. So if you want to fix that, you can click this wrap text button, and it's going to automatically wrap the text to the next line and make it so it maintains that width, but it changes the height of that individual cell. Alright, so and with that's one of the best ways if you want to do that type of formatting. Alternatively, we could have just done the regular paste. So I'm going to undo all that and just do the regular paste, and we could have fixed it all this same way where we click on the H, double click, but see how it didn't work to expand, and that's because each one of these is already wrapped text. So if I undo my wrap text and then I expand it, now I have kept my formatting that I originally came in with, but now I have been able to change how wide my text is. Alright, and let me give you another example of that. Here is another table that is in a Gen Chem lab, and if we copy all of this, or you could just click here on this little table button, the little four-corner arrow, and now hit Control C, copy it, and I'm getting back and forth between my two documents by hitting Alt Tab, so you can go really quickly between the two things you just had open by hitting Alt and Tab at the same time. And now I can paste that table by hitting Control V. And so notice that time I didn't have to do anything special, I just automatically pasted it in here. And so that's kind of a very helpful thing. But let me show you one more thing that I think is really important for the paste function. Let's say I wanted my densities not to be in a column, I wanted them to be in a row, like this way. If I wanted to do that, I could select them all, and then hit Control C, paste, but now you see how there's all these different options, and that's because we don't have our data coming in straight from another source. Instead, we just have one part of the cell highlighted. Transpose. That's a really helpful feature. I could just click in a cell and then click transpose, and notice how it took my column and moved it as a row. I also could use a lot of these other features. These are very helpful. This one you'll find is helpful. That's just values, so it means copy just my values. This one's values and number formatting. Sometimes you just want the source formatting. You want it to look like what you originally had it looking like. And so play with all of these features and just see what they each do. If you hover over them, it'll give you a brief description of what is happening. Now, I have listed all of these functions here. I do find it's useful to write them down until you've kind of committed them to memory. You'll have muscle memory with your fingers before long. That helps you do all of this. Now, this Control A, the Select All function, is really pretty helpful. If you hit Control A, notice how it selected all, A for all, and that's just going to select this one region. But if I hit it again, it's going to select everything in the one spreadsheet. So the first time you hit Control A, it's looking for where does the functions break. So notice there's nothing in my G or my C columns, but if you do Control A a second time, it's now going to break here. Same thing if I just wanted this table. Control A selects the table, the second Control A selects everything. And that's the basics of inputting your data, copy, paste, and paste special.